There we go. There we go. Let me escape out of this quickly. There's the Wise family. Okay. Again, thank you all for hopping on. I'm just going to give it a couple minutes. I have everything set up. Right around 6:15, I'm going to start going through where you can find all this information that we're going to cover. For the 08s, it's already loaded on your TeamSnap. I'm going to show you how to get there here momentarily. Unfortunately, there are some nuances to TeamSnap that aren't quite user-friendly with regards to cell phones. So a lot of what I show you is going to be desktop use only. And that's particular to the media file and where a lot of the information will be for their recruiting process. There we go. Let's get him back in. It's Jazzy. Good.
I didn't even know there was a TeamSnap on the laptop or the PC.
Yeah. You can, teamsnap.com, and I'm going to take you through from entry into your account, where on your desktop you can find the media files and where the kids are going to have a lot of access to different files for their year. We're going to go through and show you the videos, where you're going to find the videos and how you're going to access those as well, and where they're going to be present. Let's do that now. Let's get a video going. Go ahead and set this up. I'm going to get started shortly. I'm just going to set one more thing up and then we'll be ready to go. Again, thank you for hopping on. We're going to do our best not to have this be too long. I'm going to take my time and kind of present to you what's going to happen for the year. And then if we can, we'll hold off on questions. If there's any questions at the end, I'll take them all. But I'm going to walk you through with this, at least a broad view of what this process is going to look like here at Classics, or at least with myself. And before I get even deep into this, just let you all know this is voluntary in terms of these kids participating in this process with Classics. If you guys want to do this with a third party or someone outside of it you feel comfortable with, that is okay. But we provide a pretty decent system in terms of how to get kids visible, seen, and in and out of the process of recruiting. And I'm going to go through that here for you.
So what do we do with those tons of emails we're getting from all these different organizations? Do you have some kind of scrapyard or something we do with that?
Yeah, we'll go through. I'll tell you a little bit about what that is and why you're getting it. I'm sure some of you already know that, but I'm gonna go through that all. So we're gonna start it right now. I'm gonna put all of you just on mute for a second so I can go through some stuff. Let me just organize here, make sure I have no one waiting. We don't. Okay, great. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is just show you a few things. And again, I thank you for hopping on. I want to give you guys some input onto the recruiting process for PA Classics here. This right now is specific to sophomores and what they're going to go through this next year. I've invited some of the U15s on so they can get a handle of what they're looking forward to. But for freshmen and 8th grade, you just want to take a year, add that on to all calendars, and that'll give you an idea of when you're going to be starting stuff. So if you're in 9th grade now, you're going to start this stuff in October next year. And I'm offering it to some of the U17s that were freshmen. Now your sophomores, just kind of a fresh reminder as to what's going to happen, because your sophomore year is really when things start to pick up. In our process here at Classics, you're going to have a lot of access. And I've talked to many of you about that access and what that means. So to generally go through a few things, these kids are on a high-level National League team that is going to be highly visible to colleges all across the country in every level. We're going to have access to Division I, Division II, Division III. And all throughout the year, they're going to be visible to these coaches in showcases, in matches, as well as training sessions. So what that means is we will have days throughout our year where I will give the kids a heads up that a coach could be coming to a practice to watch or to assess or evaluate. And essentially all the kids do is go through a training session as normal. It'll be awkward the first time. They'll be looking around, trying to figure out who's who, but they will get accustomed to it and used to it. Specifically for our OA team, we should see a lot of that when it comes to our spring sessions. As we get into the spring sessions, I've already have a list of coaches that have reached out about wanting to attend. They'll show up, they'll sit on the side, and we'll just be running practice as normal. That is very, very consistent with years past. And my guess is this year it should pick up. We should see 15, 20, 25 different schools over the course of 6 months at just our training sessions alone. We will also be in showcases where these kids will be visible. Of course, that's the focal point for us. Some of the numbers from last year at games, at one point, 40, 45, 50 schools would attend single matches, and we would have a lot of those schools repeat and come back for additional matches throughout the entirety of the event. So getting used to playing in front of schools will be something they'll get used to. What's going to be the most important thing is for us to work with our players to create a focal point of what our players are looking for, student athletes at the next level. So what I've done is I put together some items for these players to use. Throughout the course of the year, I will meet with the players one-on-one. We have an opportunity to meet with them at least 3 times if they want to. One will be to check in on their choices and selections of schools. Another will be to see how they're doing with their contact letters and reaching out to those schools. And then we'll have a position in a time frame where they can check in on how to make highlight videos and how things are going. In between those 3 specific time periods, I'm available to all players for any questions, any concerns, 5, 10, 15-minute Zoom meetings if they need it, for anything whatsoever. We want to make sure they feel comfortable going through this process. That is our goal. So with that, I'm going to start, do a little screen share, get into what this looks like on a bigger scale, and just show you and start with TeamSnap, because that is going to be really the tool that we're going to be using a lot of over the course of the year. Move this down here, perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sign out of TeamSnap, and I was talking a little bit earlier, in TeamSnap, you're going to have access to everything from video to recording tools, and if we do a video analysis night, which we will have, you'll have information, and the players will have information they can access in TeamSnap for that video analysis night. So it might be a few questions, it might be just the video itself, but I want to go through how to find all the important information, okay? So I'm logging in. This is the website on the desktop. It's teamsnap.com, login, sign in. You can just do teamsnap.com. It'll bring you to the login, sign in page. And after you log in, the biggest difference between what you see on your phone, this is my view. I have a couple different teams. I'm going to go to you. The biggest difference between what you see on your phone and on your desktop is this toolbar right up top. On your phone, you do not have access to the full toolbar like you do on a desktop. And the important piece for the players for this year is going to be this media piece. When we click on this media piece, it's going to open up a couple different things. For now, you're going to see a folder that should pop up that says recruiting resources under files or recruiting docs. And you're going to see a little link here that says videos. After the girls play a match within 48 hours, it's going to be much quicker now because all we're using is VO to record it, VO to post it. Their matches are going to be online for viewing. So every match they play, they're going to be able to watch. After 24 hours, they get uploaded. You're going to be able to go in and access. I recommend if they're going to watch it, just watch it, take some general notes. Don't overanalyze unless they want to chat with me about what's going on. Because what's going to happen is I'm going to be working on very specific things. I don't want them watching and thinking I should have done this, should have done that. I ask them to check with me on certain things because we're going to have a very specific formation we're going to run, why we're running it, and how it's going to be to everyone's benefit, especially in the recruiting environment. But when they want to come watch, all their game videos will be stored in TeamSnap as links. Once you learn how to access it, you go to media, go to videos, you click on the video, it'll take you to the video itself, or you can go into the YouTube link of that video. So let me go back here. There it is. I should be able to access that. This one more time. Now, sorry for my slow. I'm going to move out into where you can find it on YouTube. It's a little bit slow for my connection, so it's going to take a minute. But once they get to the video, it should look just like this. And the reason why I'm showing you this here is because you are going to have all videos stored under my YouTube page. I will also be able to send you downloadable links. We'll get into that in a minute. But the downloadable links will be so you can download the actual footage and cut it up into highlight reels. But if you're just looking to watch it, everything will be on my page. So if you click on anything that has my W or the label on it, it'll take you to the page and you can go through every single video that's posted for your group on my YouTube page. You will have access to that. I will continuously send that link out so that if you guys, again, kids want to watch the video, it's there. You can access it through TeamSnap, but once you have the YouTube link, you can also access it through there. And again, when I clicked on that link earlier in TeamSnap, this is what it'll bring up. You can watch it right from TeamSnap or you can watch on YouTube. If you click here, you'll have access to every single game that I upload for the kids to be able to view it anytime they want to view it. Again, that's from this media link here, videos, and all their videos will start to list as thumbnails underneath this link. The other thing that's going to be in here, anything we cover. If I have documents that I want to send out, if I have calendars I want to send out in addition to what we have on TeamSnap, it's all going to be listed here. So for instance, the things I sent out to you guys today with regards to the questionnaire, with regards to the contact letter, all of those items will be under TeamSnap under recruiting docs. There's a timeline in there as well. Some of this is duplicating, that's okay. But you can simply click on that, click on the actual thumbnail, and it will download right into your computer. So for us, and our purposes, this is the questionnaire that I have attached to TeamSnap. This is the one I want the girls really thinking about and working on over the course of the next 2 to 3 months. So if you don't remember it tonight, just know, again, it's in your TeamSnap. Everything we talk about and go over tonight is in your TeamSnap. And to access it again, I'm just going to go in. It's under media. This is under files, under recruiting docs, and then all of the items that we talk about tonight. You can pick any one of those. They're all there. Tonight's Zoom call, there is a PowerPoint for it. Once I click on that, it'll download it in your computer. You can access that as well in your TeamSnap. And it'll bring it up. This is exactly the PowerPoint we're going to be talking about tonight with regards to recruiting. So anything that we go over, anything that we talk about, if I have a document for it, you're going to see it in TeamSnap. You're going to have access to it. I want to make sure that you guys aren't looking around in emails for documentation. Okay. And again, that's all under files, under your TeamSnap Media app. Okay. Just going to stop it right there. Before I go on, I just want to check and see, does anyone have any questions whatsoever?
I have one, Coach.
Yep.
So, of course, Piper's a sophomore. You don't have her anymore. How are video accessing for her and her team that, with the players that are sophomores available?
For those older teams, I did a Google Share Doc that had all the links to the games. The links are still on my YouTube. So if you still have access, if you still have the link to my YouTube page or any of the old videos,
yes,
their games are going to be on my YouTube page.
Okay.
I'm going to make sure to host everything from U19 to U15 on the YouTube page this year.
Thank you.
Yep. So the big thing tonight is just to get across what this looks like for a year's time. And over the course of the year, I'm going to really stress the focus that this is really about the kids assuming control over their recruiting process. I can tell you, having done this long enough now, I have a really good handle on what this looks like. I have an even better handle on the levels for players. You asked me 2 years ago, I would have told you we're not exactly clear on what these coaches are looking for. And that there was a lot of reason for that. A lot of coaching changes, a lot of different roles. We are very clear. This is going to be something, if you ask Coach Todd or you ask myself, where do you think our kid's going to play? We're going to come back to you with a very specific answer this year. We have a really good understanding for what they're looking for, what they prioritize, and we'll get into that in individual meetings. Tonight, what I want to go over is how they are going to attack their process starting now, should they choose to do it, on through December of this year, and how they're going to do it as they approach the June 15th marker as their recruiting window opens up. So what we're going to do, moving to this PowerPoint, again, you have access to this in your TeamSnap. I'm going to go over just a couple points of emphasis on the college questionnaire. I want to talk about the introduction letter. That is something that is coming up pretty quickly. I'll talk about for which divisions you want to consider, when you want to send that out. And again, you don't have to write any of this down. This is all going to be stuff that we talk about with your players as we start to set up meetings. They will get a Google Doc in October. As high school starts to wind down, they will sign up for a meeting, and we will have a timeline for each player and how they need to approach introducing themselves to coaches, how they want to do that with an introduction letter, what that should look like, and the timeframes for when they want to send it out to which schools. We're going to talk about ID clinics, why they're important. We're going to talk about the follow-up and recontact. That's a huge point of emphasis. Coaches are looking to meet kids halfway. They're interested in kids, but they also want kids to be interested in their schools. Then we're going to talk about the revision of the list, because this list is going to get revised a few times before the kid finds the right school and the school finds them. For us, we're going to start, you have this again in TeamSnap. This is underneath your recruiting timeline. Our biggest action items in October is we want the kids to really start having the discussions as a sophomore right now, having the discussions of things that are important to them and what they're looking for in a school. We put together a questionnaire that hits on some of the broader aspects of that. Do we like small schools? Do we like big schools? Do we want small class sizes, big class sizes? Do we want to be in a city versus being in a rural area? How far do we want to be? You know, when you start talking to kids about this, the whole country seems to be open. But the more you have conversations, all of a sudden they realize they don't want to be too far from home. You might have just the opposite. I want to be a little farther from home. We use the questionnaire as a starting point. If they decide they want to work with me, I require they have that questionnaire filled out. One of the things we spend a lot of time on, if it's not filled out, is just getting interest points from players. I can't tell kids what they want. They're going to have to really start to self-analyze things that they're interested in. And that is a real key to being able to narrow down this recruiting focus. If we wait to hear from schools that we think are interested in us before we make a list that we're interested in, this could get really broad really quickly. Or there might not be a lot of schools that come knocking at your door. The recruiting process is not what we think it is in terms of schools are all going to come to us. We have to throw bait out there. We have to throw interest out there, and then schools will start to connect, then they'll start to call, then they'll start to come our way. And then from there, we can start to narrow things down based off things we're interested in. The great place to start there is the recruiting questionnaire. Other thing I recommend in October to start looking at is have your kids, like they already don't have enough time. And I understand, but if they have some time to time, watch a game if they can of their prospective school, of places they want to go. One of the greatest things about this year is we have so many athletes that recently were in the program that are playing. And they can get a very good sense. Oh, I know a Carly Keene. I know a Taylor Ferraro. And if they don't, you know, they're going to know maybe it's another player from another school. Maybe we know how fast they are. And when you watch them in the game and you see there's other people as fast, you get a real good sense of what that speed level is like. You get a good sense for how big some of these players are compared to players we may know. but I highly recommend just getting a visual eye on what's going on in the college landscape, watching a game. A very good idea to do, whether it's in person, online, doesn't matter how you watch it, but start getting some information on some of these schools. A quick viewing of a game, 20, 30 minutes of different games will do. The biggest thing we can do as October comes, by the end of October, if you're a sophomore, you want to really start to fire away at putting some schools in a list format. Doesn't matter which division. I highly recommend don't all shoot for Division I. Spread it out. Have some ones, have some twos, have some threes. You're going to learn quickly. Every division looks for something different. And as the player starts to narrow down things they want to see, they might not see it in one. They might see it more in a 2 or more in a 3. They might want a small school environment, focus really highly on liberal arts. It might be more of a 3 fit. Unless your player is really hard pressed on being a pro soccer player, any division can produce a very high quality team along with a very high quality experience. To me, and it's my preference, I want to see these kids go places and play and have success. You can do that at a lot of different divisions. It doesn't all have to be one. Once we work out of October, in November, after I have some one-on-ones or we start the one-on-one process, we're going to really fine-tune that list of schools. I have 25 in there. I would say you want to have just about that many. You're going to learn real quick when you start to send introduction emails out, when coaches start to watch you, you might get feedback quickly that starts to cut that list down like severely in a moment's notice. So you want to make sure your net's a little broader. If you're starting with 6 schools, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be a real tough go. Those 6 schools might already have their recruiting list done. It just depends on who they are, how big the school is. So you want to have a few backups. 25 is a good number. If you're at 20, I would say you're good. Anything less than that, it's going to be a real tight number unless you know for a fact that school wants you at that institution. If you're looking at it from a perspective, I'm just creating a list, I'm starting brand new, I would say 20 to 25 is a very, very safe, very good place to be. Get in November, keep taking inventory of some of these schools, watch games if you can. NCAA Division I playoffs happen during November. A lot of your Division II playoffs are finishing in November, so you get to watch some of the more higher competitive teams, but good to watch and get some information. And then the third thing I want to start to do, November, December, especially if I'm a sophomore, start to do some research, start to figure some things out. What I mean by research, start looking into some of these schools. Before I commit to going to an ID clinic, I should probably have a sense of what are some things that school offers. If I'm interested in the sciences or if I'm interested in the mathematics, does that school offer majors that are going to be good fits for me? Maybe I want to be a pre-med. Maybe I don't. Maybe I want to just be a business major. There are ways that you can do that research piece, and I recommend to really start that in November, and that'll continue on through this process. But that November will tie in to being prepared for ID clinic season, which will start in December. And again, this is all written down for you. It's a lot of information, but you'll see it on the timeline that is on your teams now. I do have a piece that's not mentioned here on the actual timeline, but I'm going to take you to it. And there's a great resource. I do have a links page at the end of this PowerPoint, but that link will take you to what I use. You can use whatever you want, but there is a great page for college kind of research, and it's niche.com. That's the one I like. Again, you can use whatever ones you like. I don't have any kind of relationship with them, so it doesn't matter like who you use as long as you guys are looking into stuff. But this gives you ideas on schools where you can look at things like cost, where you can look at things like size of school. You don't have to necessarily go there to get this information. And all of this is helpful when it comes to saying, I have an idea of what I might like, but I need to know more. So if you can jump on these websites with that list of 25 that you're working through, these players can go through and look at things that this school has been reported on, from academics, diversity, campus size. You can see the average rank of kid coming in there from SATs, what the application fee is. They'll even give you timelines when the application is due. They talk about test scores and where most of them have their GPA that are accepted. I mean, this is a good website when you get there. But I would say I would save that piece for more like the winter months, right before you come out, you're going hard at wanting to attend these ID clinics. You want your kid, you want you as a family to have some information. Okay, what am I getting myself into? I would start kind of doing your research, and there's some great research pages out there. None of this you're going to do alone. None of this your player's going to do alone. I just want to show you what this is going to look like when we get to those places on those timelines. You get out of that. Back here. By about December, they're going to start to post at the end of the Division I year, at the end of the Division II and III year, they will begin to schedule and post ID clinics. And again, for my sophomores, you need to know that if you are in a Power 5 scenario in ROHs, I can't say that we won't be. I think there will be a few that will. December and January are going to be the dates where we want to be seen at some of our Power 5 schools. So what are Power 5s? ACC, Big Ten. Now it's not Power 5, right? Pac-12 is not going to be anymore. But some of your major football-like schools, those are going to be the bigger schools that between December and January are going to start to post ID clinics. The Penn States, the West Virginias, the Virginia Techs, the Rutgers. Those are the schools that in this time frame we want to identify and see if we can make our first impressions on campus or get them out to watch us play in the February showcase. Those Power 5 schools for sophomore classes start to put together their recruiting maps between December and February of the sophomore class year. And as they put those maps, they will track those players from February to June. And then on June 15th, they will start to make those calls. This gets to be a little complex. And again, I will walk you through it. The other conferences, the Big South, places like High Point, places like William and Mary, places like Old Dominion, they won't be as early. They will be more putting together their recruiting maps from like April, maybe July-ish, and then they'll start to work through even after June 15th what their recruiting classes will look like. But the bigger schools will go very quickly and go very hard in December to January. So if you have intentions you've talked to me, I think that's a good fit, and you want to go and be seen by those schools, you want to do it between December and probably April to get into their first window. Doesn't mean you won't get in. It's the best place to do it. If you're not ready, you want to beat down that door when they open their next window of recruiting, which will be from April to June. But I will walk you through that in all the meetings. That is why you'll see on here action item for those players that are considering Division I. Some schools in their ID clinics for their 2026 classes will be focused on at that time. Division II, Division III, they're going to focus on you guys, the 2026 class, maybe a little bit later. It might be more like May, April, May, June of this year. But they are still winding up some of their classes for 24s. They're starting to figure out where their 25s are at. But you can always ask me. I will call the coach. I will get access to coaches. They will tell me where they're at in their class, and I'll be able to keep you in line with, hey, they're not to you yet, but to keep sending them information. They're going to get to the 26s around this time frame. Every school's different. It's just a matter of being proactive, and we have an approach that we're going to be proactive with every school that we have on our list. We know when we want to do that, and that's what you're seeing here in our timeline. January to April. Once we start to figure out where we want to be seen, how we want to be seen, we're going to start sending out introduction letters. And that letter, again, is in your Team Snap. I gave you a form of that. You can use your own letter as well. But in the Team Snap letter, when you get there, it has just general information, and we'll go over what should be in your letter. But as you go in recruiting docs, you look in here, you'll see a Girls Academy letter. Go ahead and click that. It'll download right into your computer. After it downloads, you can open it up. There's my letter. And this letter covers who I am, the year I graduate, school I play for, or town you're from, and the team you're on. It also gives them the information for our showcases. I can be honest and tell you, if you just listed Penn Fusion, the GA, Eastern Atlantic, the PDA, they would know. But we have the addresses as well. They're going to know where these are. And this gives them a sense and understanding of where they can see you. I'm going to tell you again, a lot of these coaches are already going to come watch you in training. This isn't overkill. This is you showing interest. These kids, if they're interested and they keep reaching out, you're going to get the coach's attention. This is one of the ways to do it. You want to make sure these kids, if they're interested in the school, are contacting that coach. Now, parents, this is not going to be easy to hear. They don't want to hear from parents. They want to hear that the kid is interested. So this recruiting process really has to be owned by the player. If they're interested and they want to go to these schools, they're going to have to reach out and show that interest. They're going to have to be consistent in their contact. And they take this letter, fill it out, shoot a quick email that says, hey, coach, my name is such and such. I just wanted to send you a quick letter with information about me and the club I play for. Here it is. And then that coach will open the attachment, read the letter, and have all the information that they're looking for. They do not have to use that. It is there as a resource and a tool. If they feel more comfortable using something else, they can feel free to do that. I just want to make sure the tool is there if there are people that don't feel comfortable using it. But January to April, I would be gearing up and firing out these letters. If you get those letters out, again, it gives the coaches a plan of how they want to attack their recruiting. Okay, I want to see this kid at this event, this kid at that event, and you want to be right in step as they're planning their spring on where they're going to do their recruiting process. I would continue to update your schools through the months of January and April as you get through the first showcase of Penn Fusion, and you start to get, maybe there's some high quality games we have in our league. I know we play FC Virginia a little bit later this year. You can send them another note. Sending notes once every couple of weeks to schools is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, and it's not overkill. If you're very interested and you think you have a sense that school may be interested, maybe it's something I heard, maybe something you heard, sending them every 2 to 3 weeks is not a bad idea. You can send them however you'd like. And again, I'll work through with each kid on what this looks like. But this is why I have in here, continue to update your list of schools. And again, you're going to find out feedback. Maybe I heard, maybe that school's not interested. I let you know, continue to edit, maybe add something else in, drop something else off. Just work on modifying that list through January to April and continuing to contact. April to June, again, keep them posted with that letter. Again, you can modify it by now. It doesn't have to be a lot of intro stuff, but just follow-up stuff. Hey, just wanted to reach out to you again. We just got our dates for our Eastern Regional. We got our dates for our National Showcase. These are when we're going to be playing. This is who we're going to be playing. Those are things that you can do in your follow-up letters to these schools. Again, continue to update your list. If you update that list, now you know, okay, William and Mary got back to me. They're not interested. They finished up your class, or they didn't finish up your class, but they're going a different direction. Just continue to edit so that you have enough schools there to choose from. And from April to June, you're going to start to work through your highlight film. I do have a process that I like to use when it comes to doing highlight films. It is through FlexClip. There are many different highlight companies you can use. You can use Huddle. I believe Veo now offers something where you can put something together. Whatever a kid wants to use, they're welcome to use. If they can't do it themselves and need help, I just use FlexClip. It's easier for me. And again, you're going to see that link at the end of here on the PowerPoint. But it's a little website. It's a totally free website that I give the players my passwords to. But once you log on here, it's one of the sites that allows the kids to upload their clips, arrange their clips, and actually create highlight videos. And as you can see there, we have a couple players that are currently in our system that are currently working on highlight videos. As we go back here, that's what we're going to do through April and June. ID clinics. We get a lot of questions with regards to ID clinics. And one of the things I will tell you is, as we have conversations with your players one-on-one, where I think they're at, where I think they're going to be, it'll clear up how many ID clinics you're going to be going to, where you're going to be going, and how you're going to be attending them. Again, if you're a Power 5, we're going to be looking at ID clinics as early as January or February. You're going to want to get in on the first view. If you're outside that Power 5, and that's fine. You're a little bit in the Big South, the A10, you're going to be looking somewhere between that January, April window. And it's okay if you're not. You can still be April to June and still be in their first view. D2, D3, you're going to be somewhere around that May to June or even July. Okay, because it takes a little bit more time for them to shore up their rosters. But there's a couple important reasons I want to make sure people understand about the ID clinics. One, there's a big idea of going to group ID clinics. They're not terrible, but the biggest reason why coaches want you there so they can manage the environment. I'm a club coach. One of the things I like when I see players, I want to bring them in. I want to go through my drills. I want to give them my intensity. I want to see how the kids react to me. And so when you go to these college ID clinics, that's what the coaches are trying to do. They're running their drills with their environment, their energy, and they want to see how the kids react to them. They also want to see how they approach it, how they walk on the field, how are they talking to the other girls on the team? Are they really competitive? Are they shy? They're looking at it all. So keep in mind, these are very critical points of the recruiting process. When you go, it just depends on who's on your list, and I'll work through that with you. But why it's important, it allows those coaches to evaluate players under their expectation. It's also going to allow them to run their exercises they think are important for their teams. This is how we do it. Can that kid do some of this stuff? And more importantly, it's going to help them kind of create a level playing field for all the varieties of kids they're recruiting. It's easy for them to come watch us on a national level, but once they watch us, they need to compare. So when they bring them in, they can compare us to the other players from the ECNL, from the other leagues, or from outside of the country. That's why there's a great value in attending these ID clinics. And be very careful. Your kid, your player, having an idea, starting to figure out what they want out of their experience is going to be truly helpful. You do not want to run around and do 100 ID clinics. You just want to really focus in on the ones you think are going to be beneficial to your player, or ones that are really on her list, the target list of schools. They can get pricey and they can get very daunting in terms of the travel, depending on where you're going. So that questionnaire comes into play here, really focusing on what these kids are looking for. And it might be a process. It might take some time. That's why I recommend don't rush to that ID clinic stage without really having an idea of what it is your player is looking for. This is a little just tidbit on the introduction letter. Should you not use the one I gave you, and it's okay. What are some of the things I recommend you have in the ID or that introduction letter? This will be on the PowerPoint for when you're ready to use it, but just some pieces of things not to forget if you want to do your own version of things, and that is okay. But remember your name, graduation year, your team, your contact information. Always leave that so they know how to get back in contact with you. Always, I highly recommend adding your schedule. You'll never know. These coaches might end up saying, hey, we're going to be at this event. Let's put them on the schedule. Let's go see them play. Now, the biggest things I can recommend throughout this entire process is really getting to know your player and what they're looking for. They're sophomores. They have so much time before they're seniors. But the recruiting window expedites things. So have conversations about things they might prefer over things they don't. Again, we talked about it earlier, city feel, rural country living, small town, big city. You're going to get a real good sense of what your young player might prefer or might be more comfortable with compared to what they might not be. But those conversations are going to be really important. I would highly advise not to wait to see who's interested, because each school is going to bring something different. Figure out something they're going to be interested in. And a player put it to me a long time ago, you recruit the school first before the school recruits you. And that's going to make it a lot easier for you guys to know what's going to be the right fit versus the one that might not be the right one at the right time. Talk about things like academic needs. You guys are going to know who they are in classrooms a little better than myself. I'll help with the soccer piece, but you're going to know if they're going to thrive in big class scenarios, maybe a Penn State situation versus a smaller school scenario. Majors with accelerated grad programs. Maybe your kid wants to be a physical therapist. We had a player that went to a school. It was a great fit, 3-2. They get 3 undergrad years, and it gets them right into their graduate program. Those are things and nuances when your player starts to develop an understanding for what they're looking for. Continue having those conversations, and then as you go, just continue to edit your list. I'm changing my list because I know I want to major in this now. I know I want to do this now. Do not be afraid about having the cost conversation. And I'm going to be frank with you all because you need to hear it. As much as this is recruiting, as much as you're going to have opportunity, there are going to be plenty of big name schools on our training fields and on our game fields. A lot of these schools do not offer full scholarships. There's a misnomer. It's not like football. There's a very good example one. Penn State's a great one. They have a lot of great players from all over the country. The first thing she tells everyone in their process, I do not offer full rides. So be upfront with that conversation. You know, what's going to be a little bit more reasonable versus less reasonable. You know, especially when you're looking at D3, some of those prices go up and scholarship money comes down. But you want to get into having some conversations really before you start diving into those ID clinics. You're going to drive interest in your player, but you're going to know at the end of the day what might be a better fit and what might be the right fit versus getting in over your head and all of a sudden you're not sure exactly how we're going to cover costs. Lastly, kind of do's and don'ts. I would have the players write their own emails to coaches. This is a very big change from the youth process to the college process. And we are working towards getting players more player-centric when it comes to communication and PA Classics. The biggest change is when they leave here and go to a school, it is all on them. How they talk to the coach, how they handle themselves with the coach, how they set expectations with their coaches and their teammates. So as they start this process, this is the very first piece that they have to impress these schools with is how they handle their communication. If you have a player that's really trying to get through and learn that process, again, I will work with them, but you want them to really drive towards doing a lot of their emailing. You can edit it, you can look at it, but make sure it's coming from them and from their email address. Have the player handle the communication. Do not feel awkward when a coach says, I really just want to talk to the player. A lot of what they're trying to do is evaluate the fit between that player and their institution. And that's only going to come as they talk to this player more. There's going to be a lot of text exchange, phone call exchange, and the player will start to get used to that. It'll be new at first, but prepare them for having conversations with these coaches. Biggest one for me is have the player work on contributing to their own highlight film. We've been in situations before where a coach will ask a player about a particular highlight on their highlight film and a player has no idea it's in there. Do not put them in that situation. Make sure they're contributing to their success in their film. I like this because of this. I like this because of that. Coaches will absolutely ask. Highlight films are not going to be the end all be all, but they're going to check in to see, like, how does the player think that actual highlight went for them? What do they think was good about it? So if you're doing stuff for them, oh, I like this, I'm putting it in, I'm sending it, you know, because I think it's a good highlight, be very careful of that because coaches are going to check in, make sure the player is a big part of that process. Don'ts I recommend, again, parents completing highlight films for their player. I should have put in there without the player's involvement. I wouldn't write emails to the coaches on the player's behalf, and I would not be approaching these coaches at showcases and events. I know some of those hopefully are common don'ts, and you already know that, but I just want to reiterate, do not approach the coaches during showcases. They will let it be known when it's cool to do that, but that is definitely after June 15th when sophomores are in that communication phase. Right now, it's a no contact phase. A lot of the recruiting process is going to be done prior to the time they can talk. So get comfortable with the player making a lot of reaching out, a lot of contact to coaches without a lot of involvement at the moment. They will get parents involved when they get a little bit further down the line for sure. I'll be sending out a Google Doc. In that Google Doc will be time frames. I'll have a bunch of them. It'll be our first meeting, and we'll start that somewhere in November. I'm waiting because I want to see what the training schedules are going to look like from the club in terms of we have the part that we might have to adjust in time. So once I get that done, I'm going to have a bunch of different times that the kids can sign up with one-on-one meetings. We will start looking at their list and how I can help them organize their ID clinic schedules. Again, who's going to be fit for the Power Fives when you should start thinking about going there? Who's going to be fit for D2s when you should start thinking about those ID clinics? How does it fit your schedule for introduction letters? I will start all of that as I start to send out the Google Doc and set up the 1v1 meetings. Prior to that meeting, which won't happen until November, so we're in September now, they have 2 months to work on coming up with the list. I am requiring them to have a list put together. Again, I have 25 in there. If they have 20, I'm okay with that. But they need to have a variety of schools so we can work through what they're looking for and why. What they want out of a school is going to be very important to come across to coaches as they're in the recruiting process. And I will work them through it, but they have to come with something to that meeting. So I'm requiring at least 20 to 25 schools on that list. That Google Doc will come out on October 30th. And from there, it'll be there to access for all players. When they sign up for a time, they'll get a Zoom link. And then we'll have a Zoom meeting and we'll go through their list and what their time frames will look like and what their schedules for ID clinics and contact letters will look like. So basically, this will be customized to each individual player. Yeah. Before I move on, because that's really all I have, but I want to check in. Are there any questions for anybody? I know it was a lot of information, but again, it's on your TeamSnap, so you can review it with your player. You have access to all your forms that I would talk about on TeamSnap. And this recording will also be on TeamSnap for anybody that wants to go back and review. But at this point, are there any questions of what's going to happen and what it's going to look like? And remember, you're on mute, so you just have to unmute and just go ahead and fire away.
Coach, if you have a few minutes afterwards or a quick phone call.
Yep. Any questions whatsoever? Again, just to review, October 30th, Google Doc will come out. It is not required. I make that point. We had girls last year that a couple hired a recruiting service. They found out they did the exact same thing, but that's okay. Where they went through and devised a list, had a contact letter, sent the contact letters out. You're welcome to do whatever you like, but we provide this. It's free for you guys. So this whole process will be very similar to you hiring somebody. But if you want to sign up for it on October 30th, you're going to sign up for a time. Your player is going to have their questionnaire filled out by that time that we meet. We're going to go through their list and we're going to come up with an individualized timeline that'll help them with figuring out ID clinics, introduction letters, and then working on their very first starts of when and how to do their highlight video. From there, they will have 2 more meetings and plenty of contact in between, in which we'll check in on how they're doing with their introduction letters. Have they reached all their schools? Have they contacted all their schools? Have they sent all the information out? Which ones do they plan to attend of ID clinics? They're not attending 25. What they're going to be doing is really segmenting this into 5. So they're going to look at 5 that are regional, see which ones they can hit, kind of get a sense of where they're at. They might realize quickly that that certain level, no matter what it is, might not be the right fit for them. So just going to 1 might exclude or write off 5, 6, 7 schools because they might be at a similar level. But we'll go through creating timelines throughout the course of the year based on where their list is, when the ID clinics will be, and where they need to hit different viewing windows. That'll all start on October 30th. Throughout the year, should a kid need me for anything, should a family need me for anything, all you need to do is email me. We'll set up a time, we'll hop on a Zoom, and we'll sort it out. But again, I just want to give you some peace of mind and knowing in this process, there's going to be a lot of visibility. The focal point to making this work is having the kids start to really think about what's important to them. And that'll help keep things in a straight line moving forward. It's a long process. So that focal point of knowing what they want, what they're looking for, what they want to get out of their experience is really going to help them. Any questions whatsoever? I want to make sure I open that up one more time. Okay. In October 6th, I'm having almost the same identical meeting. If you have a player that wants to hop on or you think a player should be on just to get the information directly. And again, this is going to be recorded. We're going to have this on October 6th. I have it down as 6 p.m. on October 6th. We're going over the same exact information we went on tonight. So if you're on tonight, you do not have to be on October 6th. You feel comfortable with what's going on. And again, October 30th, we'll send out the Google Doc and we'll move on from there. My biggest thing to the group, I know a lot of you are playing high school. I just wish you safety and the best of luck. I hope you all compete well. It's great to hear some of the accomplishments some of you are already having. Keep working hard, do well. And along the line, should you have any questions, call or email. I want to make sure I help all of you. I think this is going to be a very productive year for Classics. I think it's going to be a great year in terms of visibility. And I want to make sure all of the players get out of this what they're looking for. That's all I have. I appreciate you guys hopping on. Thank you so very much. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the field.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.